Hey, I'm Matt Manny. Thanks so much for joining me for this brand new study called the Eshel table. As we jump in, I would encourage you, there's a couple resources that I hope you can either get access to or have access to. If you haven't gotten them yet, we'd encourage you to go ahead and order them. This is the Eshel table, the study guide. And then we also have the Eshel table book itself. And so when you can have these both together, I would encourage you to be able to use these resources that will really help you as you go through these video sessions. Specifically, the study guide will take you through these six sessions that we'll go through together as we talk about how extraordinary hospitality can really create some incredible moments for us in our everyday lives. And so the tagline there for us is creating extraordinary moments through really just simple hospitality, ordinary hospitality. I've talked to some folks, and even for us, for Amanda and myself, when we first got married, our first attempt at hospitality was horrible. The pastor of the church that we went to on the fifth, any Sunday that had 5 Sundays, on the fifth Sunday night of that month, the pastor would say, okay, we're going to have a brief service in the night, and then I want you to go and invite somebody over to your home and to have hospitality. They call it a hospitality night. And can I tell you the truth? We dreaded those nights. We had a small 2-bedroom apartment on the second floor. There's all kinds of problems in that little apartment that we had. All the floors creaked. It kind of smelled a little bit funny. And we just really didn't like having people over. But we knew we wanted to try our hand at having hospitality. So we invited some friends over that we had met through at church, and so we just would talk to them in the lobby here and there. And we said, hey, do you guys want to come to our house Sunday night for hospitality night? So when they showed up, I don't even remember what we had for the meal fully, but I do remember that I think they brought some spinach and artichoke dip, and we had some bread, and they came up the steps and came into our living room, and our dining room and our kitchen were all just one long room. It was kind of almost like a studio apartment of sorts. And we sat there in silence, probably for the first 15 or 20 minutes. I tried to get some small talk going, and they tried to get some small talk going, and we kind of just sat there, and we did more just eating of that spinach dip. I've never taken my time so long to dip pieces of bread and spin it and just sip. I just would sip cups from my cup, and it was like horrible. It was really, really tough to go through. Since then, we have seen God use hospitality in our lives not only to grow our faith, but really to be able to grow our church, to be able to grow our friendships, to be able to grow our opportunity to evangelize our neighbors and our neighborhood, and to invite the people who are just on a journey seeking God, who are far from God and really don't know much about God. And it's amazing the power of sitting down at a table, how you can take people of different lifestyles and different experiences and different backgrounds and even different philosophies and different political viewpoints and sit down at a table and watch those walls come down as you share a meal and break bread together. And what takes place there is something spiritual, because all of a sudden you begin to, as you sit and connect, there are opportunities and you begin to see the Spirit of God work, and that's what hospitality has done for us. Now we literally have a table that we built several years back. Amanda had asked me, we had a high top table, and it just wasn't conducive. We had little ones being born, it seemed like left and right. We had 4 kids, 5 and under, in 5 years, and so it was just real fast. So we needed to have a table that was a little bit lower, so we got rid of that high top table, and we couldn't settle on anything. We didn't like the 6-foot tables. We wanted something longer, but we had a very small spot in the home that we were living in at the time. So I went on YouTube and I just searched how to make a DIY table from Home Depot, and a bunch of videos came up, and so I went and clicked on the first video because it was like 20 minutes long. It seemed like it was the shortest video, and so I watched that, and the guy gave a shopping list and walked through Home Depot. Buy this piece of wood, buy that piece of wood, buy these screws, buy this jig, buy this wood glue, and paint and stain, and there you go. And so I followed step by step, and I worked on that table for months and months, and finally for Christmas that year then, I brought that table. The table's massive. It's heavy. It's 7 feet long. It's higher than your average table. When you sit at it, you have to kind of keep your hands up because it's higher than the normal table height. But we love it, and it's got a thick glassy top of epoxy on there, and even it bows in the middle. So when we spill something, it just kind of flows into the middle of the table, kind of like just like a perfect little gutter there. There's cracks in it. It's imperfect, but we love it because of what's taken place around the table. We've celebrated birthdays. We've celebrated anniversaries. We've cried over the loss of loved ones. We've had friends meet us and accept Jesus at that table. We've had friends share some of the deepest heartbreaks they've ever gone through. We've celebrated the opportunity of new business ventures and promotions. We've celebrated births of new ones added to our friendship group and to our small group and to our church family. We've had folks come and share their story about how they never knew their dad. We've had folks come and share how they got reconnected with their family or grew in their marriage. All this taking place around a table. We've sat down with our neighbors who are coming in and looking at a pastor and his family and saying, like, I've never had the chance to sit across from somebody like you, and I don't agree with anything that you represent, but I want to hear from your perspective, and vice versa for me to say, hey, I want to hear from your world. And so as we come to this is the Eshel table. As we come to this, we're going to explain, and you're going to find out very quickly why we call it the Eshel table. It really is all about hospitality, and we'll jump into why we call it Eshel in the first video. We'll talk about the power of a table in session 1. In session 2, we'll talk about Jesus' heart for hospitality, Jesus' ministry. When you look at through the lens of hospitality, the majority of his ministry was just gathering around tables, and we'll talk about all kinds of examples for that. Hospitality made simple. You don't have to be Martha Stewart or Joanna Gaines to go ahead and invite people into your home, or Marie Kondo and have everything all spick and span. We'll talk about how to make it simple. We'll talk about the perfect recipe for hospitality, what you have to have in place to pull off hospitality. And then we'll talk about the heart for hospitality, really a philosophy, a mindset shift to be able to begin to have hospitality. And the key here is, the secret is, you've already got the mindset, and we'll talk about what that is. And then last of all, session 6, we'll talk about God's heart, your home. That God placed you where you are for a specific reason, to go ahead and reach the people around you. The great commandment that Jesus gave to us was love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then he said, and love your neighbor as yourself. He didn't say love the guy that's around the world. Well, we should do that. And he didn't say love the coworker. He didn't say love your family member. He didn't say love the people that you see on social media. And while all those people are included, I think sometimes we get away from this understanding, what about my literal, physical, in the flesh neighbor? How do I have a relationship with them? What we're going to show you in an amazing way from Scripture is you don't have to even have a home to be hospitable to people. You can break down some massive walls by gathering around a table. And we've done that. We'll share real life stories from how we have met our neighbors. We've seen God work on their lives, and we've seen God bring them to faith around the table. We have other folks who they're far from God. They're still far from God, but they feel safe coming to the table. And most of all, my encouragement for you is this, that through this, it'll radically transform your life and how you see God because of his hospitality that he has shown to you and to me. We are so excited to be able to jump into this study with you, to go through this together, and we'll share more of our stories as we go along through each session. I'm looking forward to jumping in the power of hospitality in session 1. I encourage you to make sure you have your study guide, and as well to be able to get the biggest bang for your buck out of this study, to as well have the book, The Eshel Table, handy to be able to read in between each session. We'll look forward to seeing you in session number 1, the power of hospitality.